Joining me live now, as he does every week, is Simon Welsh from RedBridge Group. Might feed into a little bit of that as well, Simon. What have you found in the focus groups over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. It's been something that we've been watching emerge for a little while now, and I think it's got to a point where it's almost reaching, if I can use that horrible cliche, this sort of tipping point. Is we've sort of talked on this show a lot about housing affordability, housing ownership as being a fault line in Australian politics. What we're seeing now is another fault line, is this idea of social connection. A word that keeps coming up too often in focus groups at the moment is isolation. People feeling isolated. It's something that started in COVID, with obviously with border lockdowns and these sorts of things that sort of enforced this separation of people from their friends and their family networks and these sorts of things. But it's not healed. And it's not healed because it's intrinsically sort of tied up with the economic circumstance. People can't afford to go out. People can't afford to jump on a plane and go and see family and friends. It's also tied up with the housing attainability sort of issues as well. People to be able to afford homes are having to move away from their networks, move away from where family and friends are, out to more affordable areas. All these things are in this mix. And what we're seeing is this real sort of schism for folk who feel disconnected from family, they feel disconnected from friends, they're feeling, as they say in the groups, isolated. And at the very least, that kind of stress in the system, translates into a political volatility. So I don't think we've really seen the political impact of this land yet. I think in some ways, those sort of post-COVID elections that we had sort of last year, maybe a bit of a honeymoon period. I think the volatility is yet to come. And if you've got large swathes of the electorate that feel like their lives are meaningfully diminished, someone's going to have to pay for the price for that. And I think we're looking at a sort of a political kind of mess over the coming elections. I don't think either of the major parties are well positioned to pick this up. I think this sort of creates a volatility that sprays across sort of the political spectrum. But there is a real sense of sort of desperation for a lot of people out there who feel economically stressed, and now they feel sort of isolated from family, friends. They don't have those support networks around them.
Yeah, right. So isolated and lonely, that's never a good place to be. And I think that is, as you say, difficult politically to deal with in any meaningful and expedited way. I was just talking to Cameron Dick about Queensland and what's happening there with Anastasia Palaszczuk. Look, the polls are going south. There's some that are frustrated with her leadership internally. Would you say that electorally she has those same problems? Is it cost of living? Is this go across, both levels of government, state and federal?
Absolutely. Yeah. All these sort of broader themes around housing, around cost of living. When we do groups in Queensland, we see them there. Absolutely. The same sorts of issues around population growth with infrastructure, or lack of infrastructure keeping up with population growth. All these sort of strains that we see in New South Wales, Victoria, we also see in Queensland. And I think they're absolutely sort of behind this sort of fall on the Labor primary in Queensland. And of course, as I say, this sort of secondary sort of personal emotional need, I think just makes it very hard for the major parties to sort of claim big chunks of voters back. I think there's something happening here, and I think it's going to see a lot of voters hive off to minor parties.
Yeah, Simon, thanks so much for that. A bit grim this morning, but we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Laura.